Guys, so today bringing you another video and a welcome to a high rating spectate, and I wanted to make this like as quick as I possibly could. If you watched the patch note video, I titled that video basically AD Mordekaiser is coming or something like that, and it intrigued me. If you watched the patch note video, I said that's the thing that I'm actually interested in the most. So today is Wednesday, you're going to get this as today's second video. We're watching a guy who's probably around the top 10 or 15 Mordekaisers on EU West. I'll explain why we're not having like one of the top 3, let's say. But yeah, this guy builds a couple AD items on Mordekaiser in this game. So I want to watch. I want to see what happens. So just to explain, you know, why are we in like, let's say the top of 10 to 15 instead of like one of the best ones, is because obviously today is the day of the patch. Not many of them have played yet. So I found like a few mods. I've had a couple games here and there, and I will say there's 3 items that keep popping up that already the Mordekaisers are starting to build, and hilariously none of them are Sterix Gauge. Sterix Gauge is what they mentioned in the patch notes. None of them are building Sterix Gauge. So the 3 items that I'm seeing, the primary one, it makes a lot of sense, is Experimental Hex Plate, whatever the hell it's called. It just got buffed, and it's a steroid item when you ult somebody. So obviously it's the perfect nocturnal item. When you ult someone as Mord, you're gaining 1v1 strength, but then with that hex plate, experimental hex plate, whatever item, you're gaining even more 1v1 strength straight away. So that's the major item I'm seeing. Stride Breaker, I'm seeing quite a lot. And again, that makes sense on Mord because you're kind of slowing people. So that's kind of potentially instead of a Rylays. And the last one was Spirit Shojin, which again does make quite a lot of sense. He's a very ability-centric champion, so getting your E and Q off cooldown a lot quicker, that's pretty good. So yeah, it's an interesting change. But anyway, this game, from memory, was about a half-an-hour game, and I think again it's not a free win. I think the enemy team does have a couple of players that do very well. I think from memory, the Akshan on Mord's team doesn't do great. So this won't be like a straightforward, oh, the Mord just stomps, boom, it's game over. So this should be interesting to see how truly strong this is. So it is against the Gnar, and obviously historically Gnar has not been the best champion in top lane recently. But he also just got a buff. So this is also a patch that Gnar got buffed. It is worth mentioning, this Mordekaiser is running Ignite. I will say, it does seem pretty common for the better Mords that they run Ignite, and I honestly think the purpose of it is because the Mordekaisers and really good Mordekaisers, what they prioritize more than anything else is pure 1v1 strength with ultimate. So Ignite is basically empowering that 1v1 more. You know, Mordekaiser, he's not a split push champion. You're not going to be on side lane killing towers like a typical top laner, really. So I think, you know, you could technically, yes, get hurt not having teleported mid to late game if the opponent is something like a Trundle or something. But I think if you're not against one of the better split pushing, demolish, tower munching top laners, I think you can definitely get away with Ignite on Mord. And obviously Gnar is not the best tower killing kind of champion. So yeah, I think against something like a Gnar, definitely going Ignite is fine. You can see that the Mordekaiser is trying to get some engages off on the Gnar, but Gnar is quite slippery, you know, ranged, you know, half range champion, good movement speed. So he is doing a fairly good job avoiding, and obviously the Gnar should, and he's doing a little bit of it now, should be looking for a decent amount of poke on the Mord, because that again is Gnar's advantage, being half ranged, is trying to basically harass people down. So it's worth knowing, replays are still bugged. Like there, if you saw what was that effect, that was Mordekaiser's passive, but in a replay, we will not get the big circle. Again, replays have been bugged for a very long time, but Riot has not fixed it because replays don't make Riot money. So like there, his passive is on right now, but as you can probably tell, we don't get the big circle around Mordekaiser. So it's a little bit weird. But yeah, this game, I will say, as a whole, is, I think, roughly... This could be a dead Gnar. He uses the... Okay, so he uses the Ignite. He gets the kill. Holy moly, this could be a double kill. There's the W. Auto attacks are being intertwined. Hits the big Q. Q gives isolation damage. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. 2v1 double kill for Mord. So that's obviously a big benefit as well of having Ignite. The Ignite finished off the Gnar, which I'm surprised it did, but it did. But it is worth knowing, mid lane they keep trading against each other. Look at the Gnar's items. He is instantly has got that magic resist. This is kind of the thing that I would say that is interesting when it comes to Mord gaining an AD ratio. And look, there you go. There's a longsword straight away. Riot a few years ago got rid of a lot of hybrid builds. They got rid of a lot of them because they are harder to balance. Because, you know, it's harder to go, right, this champion does both AP and AD. They're building items that give both. How do you itemize against that? That's difficult. So they actually got rid of most of it in the game. You know, items like Gunblade and stuff, which was a legit hybrid item, they got rid of. But when it comes to Mordekaiser, well, this Gnar has got Null Mantle Magic, you know, magic damage Mordekaiser. Well, now he's going to be doing AD damage quite a bit. So it's going to be a lot harder to just build against something like a Mord. And that a lot of the time is actually going to be one of the biggest strengths of something like a Mordekaiser, being able to build an AD item and his Q obviously doing bonus AD damage. Because it is worth knowing, like, obviously building AD on Mord, it will help his auto attacks out. It would have done that before they did the change, but it would not have been worth it just for basically making his auto attacks do more damage. What is pushing the boundary of potentially making this strong is two things. It's, you know, three. Yeah, the auto attacks, that's always nice. It's the Q damage ratio. So his Q right now with the change has got, I don't know if we can see it. You can see there, so you can see there 120 bonus AD damage, and then 100 at maximum, if it's a single enemy, 174% bonus AD damage. That's quite a lot. That's more than his ability power ratio, by the way. So there's that. So those are two things. The final thing that is actually making it worth for a Mordekaiser now, and again, it only is true because it is helping the Q do a lot more damage as well, but it's the items themselves. It's the fact, like, these AD items, the passives and stuff that they have on them are really powerful. Stridebreaker, the slow is great. Spirit Shojin, the fact it's going to reduce Mordekaiser's QWE cooldown is really big. Hexplate, you know, is giving extra AD, extra attack speed after an ultimate that empowers his 1v1. The items themselves are very strong, so it's kind of these three things coming together. More auto attack damage. The Q does a bunch more damage because obviously it is still doing AP damage, but it's scaling now with AD as well. And the actual items themselves, they're being benefited quite heavily from what the items actually do. So yeah, it's quite an interesting situation. So, you know, so far, it is worth mentioning, you know, the double kill that Mordekaiser got. Realistically, that has nothing to do with the change. That Mordekaiser played it well, and having Ignite got him basically the double kill. That would have probably happened before the patch. So, you know, that isn't really to do with the change, but you can see this Mordekaiser, you can already tell by the item, he's building an AD item first. I'm guessing it could be the Stridebreaker. So, like, that's kind of when people say, oh, you know, they're giving this AD ratio to Mordor, they won't really buy any of the items. The fact that some of the better Mords are literally going an AD item first should tell you already that this is probably quite a good change for Mordekaiser. Because, like, if it wasn't that good, you know, they would just ignore the AD ratio just straight away. They'd be like, it's not worth even doing. And they would just build normal AP stuff. But there you go. He's got a Phage. So that is going to be a Stridebreaker Rush Mordekaiser. So that is really interesting. I actually quite like the idea of it. Because, yeah, I think it's cool. You know, when you look at Mordekaiser's character, I know, like, in our brains, you'll always think, oh, AP Bruiser, because that's what he's always been. But when you actually look at him, if someone that's never played League of Legends before looks at him, and you go, what damage type does he do? I think majority of people will say AD. He's a massive armored guy with a massive mace. That's more of an AD damage look than an AP. Like, you know, it's sure, if you know the backstory of Mord, that he's technically undead, then you can add magic elements to him if you know more about the champion. But yeah. Oh, that was Gnar ultimate. The ultimates come through, so again, we don't see the Death Realm. So it is there, but we don't see it. You can probably tell that the Gnar is probably standing on... Bam! He's not dead. He was standing on the border. So yeah, unfortunate, not quite enough damage yet. I could kind of tell that kill wasn't probably on. The Mord basically ulted and wasn't on the Gnar quick enough. That the Gnar, obviously, with his jump, got so far away. He needed to be right on him to get that kill instantly. So there was like a good 1 to 2 seconds that Gnar was ulted but wasn't taking any damage. That's what lost the kill for MORDEKAISER. Bases straight away. Again, a very prominent thing that you'll see with a lot of good players is they do go back fairly often. You know, I've said it time and time again, making sure you're using your gold is more important in the early game than anywhere else. You know, holding even 600, 700, 800 gold in the early game is either a component here or there, or it's a completed item. Like, complete it as quick as you can, because one item matters more in the early game than it does in late. So Gnar has actually gone for a teleport play cross map and actually got himself a kill. But obviously that does leave the MORDEKAISER in top lane. He does have some of the grubs. I think they actually have all 3. So, you know, Mord, who's not the best tower killing champion, will do better with killing towers, because 1, he's going AD, so that's more auto attack damage. And 2, another kill from Gnar, having the 3 grubs. So as long as Mord can punish this a little bit, he is gaining, but obviously that's the negative of not having teleport. So, you know, you can't stop the Gnar always going for a big teleport play. Gnar, it's worked really well for the Gnar, because the Gnar just got himself 2 kills. And that has been quite a blue team orientated big play there. So, you know, 3 or 4 of Mord's team is dead. So that arguably is not great. So Mord is basing once again why. I imagine it's probably completed item. As I said, completed items are so valuable. Oh, he didn't go Strikebreaker, my bad. So yeah, he went experimental hex plate. So again, this is a perfect MORDEKAISER item. Again, it's the perfect Nocturne item, but with MORDEKAISER being such a 1v1 centric champion, I'm ulting you, fight me. After casting your ultimate, gain 50% attack speed and the movement speed for 8 seconds. Well, the ultimate for MORDEKAISER lasts 7 seconds. So the entire duration of MORDEKAISER ultimate, you are getting the benefit of the hex plate. So that is extra attack damage, attack speed, and it's honestly a big thing is the movement speed. Like you saw there, when Mord altered the Gnar, he couldn't get to him in time. And now he's going to have that bonus movement speed to make sure he can stay on top of people. So it's literally a perfect item, realistically. So I'm not 100% sure why the Akshan is here. Again, the Akshan not having a very good game. But what they're going for, I'd imagine, well, he's actually looking for the kill, which is interesting. And he does actually get it. And Gnar is not a very strong champion. I thought they were just going to go for first tower, because the first tower is low here. You could argue the enemy team, they go for the kill, but look, the tower is not being touched. Mord needs to kill this, and Mord actually just made a mistake. The Mord actually just prioritized, I think, farming. He should kill this tower, because this is so close. This is first tower for the thingy, feat of strengths. But the enemy team is not prioritizing it, so that tower is staying alive, and MORDEKAISER got it. So mistakes here and there being made. You know, Jhin does go on a rampage, kills the Kaiser, but realistically, I don't think the enemy team should have given that away. So that's good by the Mord. It's not too bad. So going to be a challenging game. You know, Akshan dying 6 times with very low farm. Kaiser struggling a little bit in comparison to Jhin. Zilean being 0-3. So, you know, MORDEKAISER, he's done what he can. You know, he got the early double kill, but that's all realistically he's been able to do this game. We'll see what more he can do. So now, by the way, he does go an ability power item. So you remember, predominantly, I'm not saying MORDEKAISER just suddenly become a full AD champion. He's not a full AD champion. He is becoming a actual hybrid champion. That there will be a key few items that will synergize very well with him that happen to be AD items, and now he can build them because of the Q ratio having AD ratios. And again, it's those items that give those extra kind of benefits. What the heck? It's those items that have the extra benefit of, you know, Hexplate giving so much bonus strength with his ultimate. Spirit Shojin reducing cooldowns. So that's always going to be a fantastic thing for a MORDEKAISER. I would say I would love to see him ult somebody here, but you can see the enemy team, look at their positioning. This is the in and out. And again, that's just one of the negatives of playing a pure melee champion. It does get the flash, does get the exhaust. So the enemy team is using a lot about, you know, for this. But yeah, that's just one of the negatives of playing a pure melee champion. You can get kited easy. But that, again, should be their weakness, by the way. Oh, ults the Jhin. Ignite. Obviously, has got the Hexplate benefit. Bam! Oh my god, that Q did so much damage. The isolation damage. Let's see a Q. Bam! And Gnar, I think, obviously gets away. Zillion ult used, but he doesn't even need it. Akshan ultimate coming through. Hits the Janna, but there we go. But yeah, there you go. That's the fed Jhin dead. Very nice. Good kill by Mord. Obviously, he hard committed for it, because that was using basically flash to start it, ignite straight away. But that Jhin didn't have any chance of surviving that 1v1. That was good. That was strong. And that's what I think this is ultimately going to do for the Mordekaiser. He's already been a pretty good 1v1 champion, but with the likes of Hexplate, with the likes of, you know, Stridebreaker if they build it, or you know, any of the AD items that could synergize well with him, it's going to make him into an even more powerful 1v1 champion. And that's what it's doing for me, is it's making him a scarier 1v1 champ. And he's already been quite a scary 1v1 champ. So again, here's the next Jhin ultimate's coming through. He does survive, which is good. But yeah. So, you know, what you can actually see, obviously, because Red Team is losing the game quite handily right now. 2 dragons down. Oh, not sure why the Viego did that. That was kind of crazy. Jhin obviously got no flash to get away, so now they're actually getting caught. Mord's on a rampage. Janna is dead. Overall, very nice. The Vex, who's pretty damn fed, is randomly top lane, so that is not the place for the Vex to be. Mord taking the thingamadoodad. Mord is... well, yeah. That was actually really smart, because they killed the tower, used the main charge for the tier 2, so now they get the main tier 2, and they should be able to do one more charge. They are pinging go for that tier 2, which I would say is probably the correct decision, because it's arguably too early to break open the enemy base. Like, it's never a bad thing breaking open the tower, but there will be no point taking the inhib, so you may as well go for bonus gold around the map, and you're going to get more bonus gold from a tier 2. Akshan tried to take on the Vex. He died again. Oh, hello, Viego. Opens up with ulti. Really, look at this 1v1 damage. Look at this 1v1 damage. Viego gets ulted. Good Q. Mordekaiser is going to do what he can. I think he is going to die, though, but he survives for a very long time. Can he do anything more? It does go down in the end. But yeah, like, great reaction time by the Mord to instantly ult that Viego, and the Viego just melted. Again, the Viego's not having a great game either, but Viego is also Viego. He's a very strong champion, so that wasn't too bad. But yeah, this Akshan is very much struggling, though. Very low farm. I think, to be honest, he's just making bad decisions. Like, he needs to prioritize farm more, and like that, he was very low, and then just was like, oh, I'm going to fight the Vex that was at full health. That was just a bad idea. So it's more his just decision-making that's kind of going awry. Next champion is item is Rift Maker. So again, a great item for Mord. Increases once again his 1v1 damage, because basically it's giving him AP, it's giving him health, giving him ability haste, so CDR, all things he wants. But then it's that bonus healing for that pure 1v1, like I'm healing while I'm damaging you, that Mord really likes. But as his third item, it's going back to an AD item. So he's buying a longsword and ruby crystals. So that is another AD item that is being built, not an AP. Now, again, there could be an argument. Oh, now maybe go Leandries for the burn damage. He's not doing that. You know, he is prioritizing. Right now, his build is more AD than AP. So I'll be honest, I didn't expect the builds to be more AD. Obviously, it could be it's the first day of this change. So maybe some Mordekaisers are going to be very much experimenting. I would say 100% the experimental Hexplate, that I think 100% is going to be just a common item on Mord now. The other ones, I think there is definite benefits to them, but we'll see, you know, in the next week or two. Dude, a lot of Mord's team's dead. Wukong is spam pinging, so like, this is a hard game for the Mord to try and do anything in, because his whole team is not doing very well. Wukong's doing okay, but he's not doing insane. But yeah, as I said, like, give it a week or two. I think we'll really see what the build will be on Mordekaiser. But I think the Hexplate will probably definitely stay. I think this might be a Stridebreaker. I'm not 100% sure Stridebreaker will stay. I think Riley probably is a superior item for slowing things as Mord. But I think Spirit Shojin definitely could be something. Like, I think Hexplate and Spirit Shojin might be the two standouts. So there's a surrender vote, by the way, from Mord's team. It has failed. So, you know, we'll keep watching. Mord is basing, because obviously without teleport, he can't be top lane and then go help his team. He's basing, and I mean, imagine he's going to run straight down because it's Arakan spawn and also Dragon soon. So there should be a relative 5v5. You can see the Gnar is already there. So it's worth knowing the Gnar's not using his teleport advantage. Oh, Akshan. Oh, Akshan. So yeah, this Akshan having a terrible game. But yeah, so the Gnar arguably... Whoa! Straight into the ultimate on the Jhin. Look at that bonus attack speed, by the way. Bam! Just straight up, bam, Jhin, you're dead. Engage coming out. Mordekaiser not dead. Gets Zilean ulted. Doesn't need it in the end, but does kill the Viego. Fight continuing. Bam, Q. Good stun by Mr. Zilean. And there you go. Bam. Straight up won the fight. So that's without an Akshan, and they just walked over the enemy team. The Jhin, again, has no chance against this Mord. As I said, he is using double sums to kill this Jhin, but it's worth it. Every time this Jhin is strong. You know, you could even say, oh, maybe he should focus the Vex. And I think, I'd imagine if there's a world, like, it is worth focusing the Vex, he will. But the Jhin was right there, and it just made obvious, bam. It just made sense to just straight up just go, I'm just going to get rid of their AD carry. Gnar going to do his best. Nice dodge by the Mord, and Gnar goes down. Gnar, by the way, did teleport. He went back, then teleported to try and help with the, you know, steal the dragon. So yeah, this Mord's an absolute monster. He's going to go back. With the amount of gold that he just gained, it could be completed item. Unfortunately, with replays being bugged, we can't go on the gold tab and actually check. But yeah, not completed item, but he picks up the Tiamat. So this is a Stride Breaker. That is what he's buying. So obviously Stride Breaker will only increase his 1v1 strength, because when he goes on top of somebody, think about it, like the combo. He ults somebody with Hexplate, he's getting the bonus movement speed, so he's running to them faster, he gets to them, and then he will Stride Breaker them, so he's faster and they're slower. What the hell can you do in the 1v1? Like, this is very interesting. So Viego also just got killed by the Akshan. Like, make no mistake, I think Akshan is one of the strongest solo queue champions. So this guy's having a quite bad game, but he's still insanely useful. That's one of the biggest strengths of Akshan, is you could have a terrible game, you can be pretty bad at the champion, but if you manage to do one mediocre play in mid to late game, you can by yourself win your team the game by getting a good revive off. Like, no other champion can do that. Is that Vex ultimate? Yeah. Vex doing what she can. The crazy thing there, by the way, if I'm not mistaken what just happened, I think I might have to go... Wait, should we watch that back? So she gets stunned. Yeah! So what just happened there is Kai'Sa knew she got ulted by Vex. Zilean hit the double bomb, which basically gave Kai'Sa the ability to use her ultimate on the Vex. So Vex was on her way. On the way, Kai'Sa ulted to get herself the shield. That's insane reaction time, by the way. So that's kind of cool to see. So Arakan has been killed. Jhin just got killed, by the way, to the Akshan in top lane. Oh, sorry, in mid lane. So again, even though this guy's had a pretty bad game, the Jhin... Again, Jhin, I'd say, is in a pretty weak state at the moment. Akshan is definitely not in a weak state. So yeah, I'm not actually that shocked that the Jhin goes down, but it does show you can have quite a bad game and still achieve a lot on Mr. Akshan. So tier 2 tower going to go down. Janna obviously doing what she can to not let that happen, but yeah, there's no stopping that. Very nice. And again, gold-wise, this Mord, I would imagine he has got enough gold for Stride Breaker. He's not basing right now because, again, he is so strong in this match. He doesn't need now. Like, you know, I said earlier, at the beginning of the game, you need to base more often. Yeah. Wow. At the beginning of the game, you need to base often to just make sure you're maintaining. Ooh, it does go down in the end. You need to maintain item lead, item lead, item lead. Well, he has an item lead basically over nearly everyone in the game now, so you don't need to do it all the time. Has gone back. There is a Stride Breaker, and again, another ability power item. So it's kind of going AD, AP, AD, AP. I'm not 100% what this item will be. It could be a Zonya's, because those two items obviously eventually make up the Seeker's Arm Guard component. So it could be a Zonya. Oh, bad miss. So it is worth mentioning the Vex actually is under-leveled. He's only level 14. The Akshan, again, who's had a mediocre game, is level 15. Part of that could be there's a Zillion in the game. Obviously, Zillion grants bonus XP and stuff, so it could be that. But, yeah, the Akshan has recovered by basically playing quite solo-orientated for a while. But, yeah. So, Mord does go down, but he was... What? At the end, if you count Jin, that Mord was 1v4. So, you know, he should die in that situation. It's... Oh, wow. They did sneaky. So, again, does get killed. Again, another 1v4. So, does show, you know, it's not made this champion just Giga OP, he never can die. He can still definitely die, and that's a good thing. The enemy team, obviously, they are still... Well, they're not winning. Like, their gold leader's gone, and what normally when a team kind of goes, oh, we're starting to lose, they start playing more desperate. So, bushwalkieing and stuff like that is definitely a way that a losing team can try to claw back some advantage. And yeah, they're basically just grouping better. Bushwookie pick the Mordekaiser, who's very strong, and now they win the fight, and that probably is Baron. So overall, it's a good play by the blue team. It gets them back kind of control of the game. So yeah, Mord obviously does go down. Jin, obviously, you can see is pinging Mordekaiser spawning quick. So they do get the Baron. Dragon should probably be the priority. Oh, Kaiser, what are we doing? Not sure about that one. Dragon potentially should be where the Mord should have run instead, but yeah. So realistically, red team has just kind of lost the momentum because they've all basically just died near enough solo for a few deaths in a row. It does happen. And again, this game, I don't even know if I finished my point earlier. This game is like a low master, high diamond 1 game. As I said, we couldn't get like one of the absolute best Mordekaiser replays because they haven't played the game today. You know, I imagine some of them will play later, but I wanted to record this video ready to go for later today, as I'm out later. Oh, he does hit it. Mordekai's ulti. He does get the bonus movement speed. Viego trying to run Stride Breaker. That is a shield bow survival or shield bow proc. Mord, though, is now in the middle of the enemy team. Does get the revive, gets the E off, and now Na is in a bad position. Nobody finished him off for now. He's still not dead. He should die in a second. General's coming down. Still not dead. Now he's dead. So there you go. So Mord actually did manage to survive it. Thank you mainly to Zillion ulti. Akshan gets one shot with a really bad engage, but that has enabled a Wukong engage with a really good Zillion stun. But you know, Wukong goes down with how fed the Vex is. And Kaiser is top lane. I don't know why the Kaiser's top. Tilt obviously definitely could be a thing. If Kaiser's there, that's a complete ace. The Kaiser ultimate into the Jin and to the Vex. She would have just killed 2 of them easily. So AD carries are unique creatures. They do have negative reputations quite often for a reason. Not sure why he did that. But yeah, it is hard sometimes to get why AD carries are the way that they are. But yeah. So Zillion probably shouldn't obviously have walked there. I don't know if it's... Well, his ultimate says it's up now, but he may have not been up, or maybe it was very close at the time. But I think, again, it is Seekers, by the way, so it is a Zonya. I think we need this Mordekaiser to hit level 16, because that would be really good. But not quite there yet. This bar down here, if you look at my mouse in the bottom left, that's the XP bar. So he's not worlds away. He's going for another 1v1 on the Viego. Shield Bow going to try and help the Viego. Bonk. He would have been right at the edge of range there, by the way. That's why the Viego couldn't move. Remember that we can't see Mord ult. But here's the problem. Because the Mord is having to go by himself, normally what you want is Mord ultimate happens, your team kind of jumps ready to go when the Mord like is popping out of the Death Realm. Unfortunately, because his team isn't really playing with him, he pops out and the whole enemy team is ready for him instead of his team helping. Here we go, big fight, big Wukong ultimate. Does get Zillion ultimate. Again, when you've got Zillion ultimate, you do often want to die. Akshan doing good damage, gets the reset. Can he get the revive? No, he can't. But that should still be a overall 1 team fight. And there you go. With Kaiser, makes it very, very possible just to easily win. And there we go, ace for red team. Again, gold lead goes back in their favor. And this will even up the dragons to 2 apiece. So a bit of a crazy game. But overall, not too bad. Again, I don't think the Mord used his Seekers. I think there was a world he could have used Seeker's Arm Guard there, and maybe survived. But he was still surrounded by the enemy team, so maybe he just didn't think there was any point. I would still say I'm partially surprised we're not seeing a Leandries, because I do think Leandries is a strong item. So I'm partially surprised we're not seeing that. Maybe if he built Zonya's, maybe the last item would be Leandries, possibly. It just gives you that extra bit of oomph damage that I think is sometimes nice for a Mord. Especially when you're standing in the middle of the enemy team and they're all taking percentage health damage. I do think that is very nice. But yeah. And again, remember, this Mordekaiser, this will be one of his first few games playing with a hybrid build. So he'll probably be, or they'll be probably, you know, experimenting with the builds a bit more. This play, I will say specifically, I had like 2 or 3 videos that I could choose from. All of them, I think, did buy this experimental hexplate, because again, I think that is just a complete perfect item. Vex Guts Ultimate, that's really bad for the Vex. Here we go, and bam. So that actually, if you watch that back, this is a good Mordekaiser. How do I know that? His E, if you watch that back, he timed it within mind of him popping out of the Death Realm when Vex died. So if you throw your E, and then the Vex dies, he's out of the Death Realm, the E then is in the real world, and it'll impact people who don't get to see it. So you can't react to it. So that is the sign of a good Mord player. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the game. They managed to win, which again, in some parts of this game, you wouldn't have thought they would win. You know, I will say having a Jhin is never going to massively help in modern day. Why didn't the Gnar ult them that way? But yeah, hybrid Mordekaiser does seem pretty good. You know, it's not giga overpowered. It's not going to just win every single game. He still can be killed. But his pure 1v1 prowess, I think, is pretty scary now, especially with Hexplate. So let me know what you think down below. I think it's pretty cool. I probably will play it maybe on the main account. Obviously, I do play occasional Mord games. So the next time I play the main account, I might try to play a Mord game. But yeah, let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Goodbye.
Welcome to the Rift, where the legends play. It's Aussie games bringing skill every day. From tips to tricks and play so fine. You'll learn the game and have a good time. Thanks for watching, you're the real MVP. Hit that like and sub, join the family tree. Like, comment, and subscribe. Keep the Aussie dream alive.